hit record as well, so I've been uploading everyone's sessions to private links, so I can just send you a link back to the session. So if there's anything I say or you want to watch back afterwards, you don't have to ever watch it. A lot of the videos have 0 views when I go back and look after a week. But if you want to watch, it'll be up there because it takes me literally 10 seconds to upload to a private link to my YouTube channel. I'll send you the link as soon as the session's finished.
Perfect.
But we'll go drive, let's say, I normally say 5 laps, but I think it probably is worth doing a couple more here just because you're going to take a couple of laps just to get into it and get used to it. So maybe like 7 or 8 flying laps. The tyres don't seem to go off or anything, so it's not like it gets worse. The car just gets like quicker and quicker as the fuel comes off. So maybe let's go 7 or 8 laps, see how you feel. I'll just keep quiet unless you say a thing that you want me to reply to, and then we'll have a look over. We can ride on board with the lap that I did. We can compare the laps like we always used to do, and when we're happy, we'll do some more laps, look at some data, and just drill into some specifics. Are you planning on doing the races at Oulton Park?
Yeah, I am
cool.
actually.
Okay, so we'll do kind of like a general refresher because I've not seen you in ages, but I remember you pretty well. So I'm just going to ride on board with you and keep my mouth shut.
Okay, shall I go?
Let's go for it.
Oh, sorry. That was a good start. Can you clear that?
Oh, did you get a black flag? I might be able to.
I accelerated right.
Hang on, I can clear black flags. I can do everything apparently. So yeah, give me a moment. I'll work out clear penalties. There we go.
Thank you.
I didn't know I had that power. I've just learnt a power.
Thank you.
I like your livery. It's very cool.
Thank
Like
you.
a kind of matte black stealth thing.
I'm still learning this track, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It's not an easy track. I really like the track, but it's not easy at all. Corners like this one coming up are so knife edge. So I remember looking through some of our notes from last time we met. We were doing Interlagos. I think my key note was the main area you could gain time was maximising confidence on corner entries to some of the fast corners. And this track is going to reward that. So.
This corner, I don't understand.
Yeah, it goes downhill, then uphill, then back downhill again, and tightens in the middle. So the one thing I can't do is fix damage. I should have turned damage off, actually. But.
It's okay. I'm just going to take it slowly at the beginning.
Yeah, that's fine. And as you know, the tyres in these F3 cars, very realistically, take a couple of laps to warm up. So.
Yeah.
I've spun on the first lap quite a few times during my practice in the last day or so here. So. They do definitely seem to switch on after a lap, 2 laps or so.
That gets me every time.
It's probably the trickiest one. Of the lower speed corners, it's definitely the trickiest one. I think turn 1 here as well is always very hard to maximise because it's high speed. and blind. But we'll go through all these. There's a range of very, very tough corners here, to be honest. Lots of different cambers as well, like really nice camber into this corner, but some others where it's the opposite. That was a good effort, considering you don't like that corner. So your gear selection is pretty good everywhere. So I think you're choosing the correct gear basically everywhere. The only thing I'd say is into the fast corner that's coming up next, try just going down one gear instead of down two. So for this one coming up. That'll entice you to carry a bit more speed there as well. You won't be mentally thinking it's a slower corner than it is. So that double right-hander there, try just the two gears. I think you were doing two on the previous laps. And this is good. Your approach to that corner is perfect. Like, take it very cautiously. And that's good too, just the one downshift, that's really good.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that one, you were expecting maybe a different corner coming up that time. It looked like you were going on the half circuit where you cut through the middle.
I was.
I think that's called the Foster's circuit, that version. You're doing really well, this is nice. Like, there's nothing terrible here at all. This is going to be a case of tidying up some places and making sure you know where you can really push. But this is a great start. Nice. And also, we're going to make you more confident with the turn-in. So your speed on the entry was good there, but you were a little bit tentative turning in. And this is the one place where it's really good to be cautious. Like, you're barely losing any time there at all. That's really good. The only thing I'd say on this bit, on the exit there, just hug the inside a bit more, so you don't need to go out towards the pit wall. That's good. And you know you can use a little bit of the runoff there. You won't get an off track if you just use like one tyre on the grass creep. It's actually quite grippy as well. So you can basically imagine the track is a couple of feet wider than it really is. This is good. Let's do a couple more timed laps because you're getting up to more of like a representative pace now. Nice. So you're getting much better already at turning in, even though you can't see where the track goes. It's really good. Remember, just 2 gears down for this double right. And you can basically immediately get back on the gas. So the 2 gears down, and then just get back on the power. You've got loads of grip. And for this one, remember, hug the tree. So keep to the left and really keep it tight, just for the distance.
The guy behind has just done a 22.5.
Yeah, so that time, I think, because you went up an extra gear on the straight, your downshift didn't really help you slow down, because you actually needed 2 down that time, because you went up an extra one. That was all. But that's fine. That's not what you've normally done, so that was just an anomaly. Nice. So you're really doing the right thing there. We're just going to maximise it even more. But I'll talk to you about that in a minute. And power straight away. Nice. There's just loads of downforce at that section because you're going so fast. And shortest possible line here, so hug the barrier. That's more like it. Well done. You didn't go up the extra gear, so that was good. Cool. I think you can get onto full throttle slightly earlier through that corner as well. Same reason. You've got quite a lot of downforce because it's such a fast corner. You're being very, very nice and meticulously smooth and careful in the tight corners. Like that hairpin is good and the final corner is really good. So definitely keep that trait. Nice. And you've not gone off or crashed there at all in that fast corner, which is quite a normal thing to do. Straight to full throttle. Yeah, nice. We got a bit too much confidence because you were so good there for like 4 laps in a row. So maybe, so obviously this next lap won't be very good, so maybe just because of the speed across the line. So maybe just do this next lap as like a warm-up. One more good flyer where I'll keep my mouth shut, so you don't have to worry about trying to hear what I'm saying. And then we'll have a little look at the best one. But you're doing a really good job. This is great. The fundamentals are there. And there's some nice low-hanging fruit for us to take as well, which is good. Okay, so one more flying lap. I'll keep my mouth completely shut for this one. Okay, well that's all right. We'll leave it there. The first couple of corners were really good. I'm just glad. This is when it's nice that it's simulator rather than real life, because that would have been expensive.
Yeah.
Right. No, you're doing well though. That's fine. I'll tell you what then. We'll just go with the best lap. Let's go with. In fact, let's go with the one you did. It isn't actually the fastest lap. It's the one you did just before that lap. But obviously, we'll just ignore the fact that you crossed the start line at a lower speed, because I think the rest of it was actually pretty good. Because you're only 0.2 off your best, and you had to start the lap having spun. So I think that's probably quite a good representative one. So, can you see my shared screen at the moment?
Hold on 1 second. I need to get Discord back up. Oops. Discord, there it is. Okay, yeah, I can see you.
Okay, awesome. So, what we're going to do, we'll just watch that lap, basically, in full speed. I won't pause it or anything. We'll just watch it in full speed. Then watch it again, and I will pause it loads. And then if there's specific parts that we... Obviously, I completely appreciate that is still kind of a bit of a warm-up session. So I'm not being... Don't take anything I'm saying now as me assuming that that is your maximum potential. I know if I left you for another 10 or 20 laps or whatever, you're going to go quicker and quicker and quicker and drive better and better. But just for the moment, we'll just look at some of the basics, and then we'll do some more laps. It's so nice riding on board with a competent driver in a cool car at this track. It's really refreshing, because I obviously do lots of sessions in lots of different types of things, but this is what I love. Anyway, right, so we'll go on the cockpit view to begin with. Right, so full speed lap. So can you hear me? By the way, I said I wasn't going to pause it. Can you hear me over the engine sound?
I can, yeah.
Okay, fine, that's fine. So turn one, you probably approached it slightly differently because we arrived there slower anyway, but you've been doing that quite well. I'll show you some specifics when we go back and look in a moment. So one gear down for here and focusing on that exit curb or the late apex curb is good. We're kind of wandering left and then wandering right here. That's mainly circuit unfamiliarity. That's probably just you not quite remembering what's coming next, so we can sort that out. Your approach into the hairpin here is very, very good. We are definitely over-slowing the car initially. We're doing too much of the braking with the brakes and not enough with the turning, but it's a really, really good framework already. Your line's good. The ultimate apex speed is good. We're just going to arrive at the apex slightly faster before we get down to the same speed. This one downshift and turn in is really good. So that's actually very, very decent on that lap. There's more room on both sides though, so we can use a bit more on the inside and a bit more on the outside. Here, down 2 gears is correct, but we've got a bit too much of a pause on the throttle. So when I show you that in slow-mo in a moment, I know you ran a bit wide on that lap, but that was actually because you went in too slow. I'll explain in a moment. And here is good as well. You're closer to the limit through there than you are into the other hairpin, the really, really slow one. So I'd say, funnily enough, out of all of those corners, the one that there's the least amount to change is probably that final corner. This one, there's not that much time defined. That's actually quite impressive, because this is normally a real pig of a corner. But let's just go back to the start, and I'll, instead of throwing loads of words at you, we'll just talk about it a bit more slowly. And I'm going to go on the off-board shot as well. So let's go with the far chase. I'm just going to angle it down a little bit, because I want you to be able to see a bit better. So let's go to like there. Okay, so turn one, obviously we know you're approaching this slower than normal. So all you want to do is try and get near this curb, which looks horrible. It's like that in real life as well, by the way. Giant stones set into concrete. Doesn't seem to hurt you too much on iRacing, but you just want to try and kind of kiss it. And the problem is, obviously, when you're back here approaching it, you really can't see round it. You've got really limited information for your subconscious driving brain to process what line and speed should I be carrying here. But when you just have to basically turn in towards the bit you can't see, it's fine. Especially when you can use some of the runoff on the exit. So you nearly got there, actually. You nearly clipped the curb. So that's actually a pretty decent effort there. You just want to be on the power really early from here. Let's see if we can hear it. you're still not quite on the power yet, and this is the main thing I noticed. If you look at the steering angle here, I know you can't see the wheel very well, but you can see enough of it to see you've got like kind of, I don't know, 40 degrees of lock or whatever on.
Quarter lock.
You actually want to be running onto this green bit here. You don't want to go so far that you get an off track, but if I just do a quick comparison with my lap, let's just have a little look. If it lets me. Here we go, far chase. Just to make sure I'm not talking rubbish.
I don't think so.
This is why I always try and set a lap first, so I can, just so I know I'm not imagining things. So yeah, so that's how much you want to use, because that is not an off track. So that's giving you so much more scope to accelerate earlier and straighten the wheel earlier. And if I don't know whether you can even see we can see my steering wheel here. I'll put it in super slow-mo, just so I can see when the straightening happens. So I'm still giving it some lock at the moment, but I'm aiming to go onto the green, and now the lock's coming off because I know that's where I want to go. So that'll give you a bit more freedom. Just like imagine that is the track, basically.
Okay.
Just forget that there's even a curb here, and just imagine it's kind of a meter. Hang on, what's that in American? Some feet. I don't know how many into the grass.
You can speak meters. It's
okay, fine. So yeah, so that's that first thing. Right, let's get back on board with you. We went for this one. Oh, good, it was the last lap, so that makes life easier. Come on, load. Right, okay. So that's thing number one. Line on the entry's good. We can just you can just allow yourself a bit more freedom to get the wheel straight. Like now, and then you won't have that little moment either. But certainly not bad. You're still like using all the track that you're technically allowed to use, just iRacing lets you use a bit more. Right, so power off down to the next corner. This obviously that's the line there, we're fine. And there might be scope to be able to go slightly further right here. We might be able to use a little bit more track width. When we've looked at a bit more of your lap, I'll scoot through my one again just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure I'm over to the side here. And then on the way in here, you go down a gear, which is good. We're probably very slightly wide of this here. You do want a late apex, like this is really good. If you can get that late apex, but also shave a little bit of distance off here as well, which is easier said than done. If we can be just a fraction closer, you're certainly not doing badly here. Half a car width tighter, whilst also still getting to that curb, is probably just a fraction better compromise. You will get a better exit in your version here, but I think you'll probably gain 1/10 from this exit, whereas you might have gained 2/10 from the slightly shorter distance on the way in. It's just one of those. It's not the end of the world, but there's a little bit there. Let's see what happens. Yeah, exactly. These things, as you know, it's all about finding the best compromise on the exit here. Yeah, similar thing. You're almost like artificially not allowing yourself to use all the track width. So if you were allowing yourself to go all the way over to this grass crete on the right here, or if we went wider earlier onto the curb first there, you will have just naturally been on the power slightly earlier. You've done such a good job at having a late apex here. You didn't need to go over there, but that just shows how much more margin for mid-corner speed there probably was. So, again, I'm not criticising, like, you probably would have done that naturally in another 10 laps, but just for the moment, that's a thing we can definitely do. Obviously, we don't want to do this kind of wandering to the left here. You just pick the straightest possible line to over here somewhere.
I forget the corner.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but for some reason it doesn't come to my mind.
Sometimes people do this. I've seen this in real life when people definitely know the track. Like, they know 100% what's coming next, and they still do this kind of weird wander. I honestly don't know why. But yours was just because you don't know what's coming next. This next corner should be easily full throttle, except on the outlap. So on the very first flying lap, this should be foot to the floor all the way through. Let's hear what you're doing. You had a micro lift, so not terrible at all. You kind of just went, yeah, it's fine. And obviously this is perfect, getting the car all the way over to the left for here. So this is the section where I think we're just overslowing it slightly. So I think we reach the correct minimum speed, but we get there a bit early. Sorry, go on.
Is my braking point too early, or I'm just too hard on the brakes with the right braking point?
I think your braking point is probably about right, and your braking pressure is probably about right initially, but as the speed is bleeding off, and you can probably roll off the brake pedal slightly and transition into the, using the front tyres scrubbing to slow down that last little bit. I think we're probably, when we look at the data, this will be much more obvious. But I imagine you're braking and getting it slowed right down, and then there's like this point where you're like, okay, now we're safe, off the brakes, in we go nice and gently. And it doesn't look that bad when you watch it. It's just compared to the ideal. Let's have a look. So about now, I would be coming off the brakes, and I think we're still decelerating quite hard. Yeah, we go down another 30k. And now, this is fine. Like, this speed you're doing now, like 87k, I don't know what I was doing, but this feels about right here. Because if any more speed, and it feels like you'd be rising up the banking. It's just, we arrived at this low speed here slightly early, I think. So I'm just going to watch that back in full speed again. And yeah, you see, we only start the turn-in. I know you can't hear the engine revs like I can.
No.
You will hear it on the video. If you watch this back later, you'll hear exactly what I can hear. So I appreciate you can't hear this right now. But the revs get all the way down and then plateau, and then you make your turn into the corner. And we want to overlap that a bit more, especially because this corner's banked. You can get away with even more. There's obviously a line. You don't want to go too much. You don't want to go in crazy speed because you will just understeer wide. But I think we're just a little bit too conservative with that compromise here. Now we turn in, and it's like constant throttle, and then off you go. The exit's great. Let's just have just by comparison, I'll just look and see. So what was our minimum speed? Is it like 87?
87, I think.
Yeah, 87, and you reach that. So you're down to 90. Yeah, so you're still slowing down to the slowest point. I think maybe this speed from here, you could probably maintain this 133-ish a bit longer to like here, and now get the main bit of the deceleration done. It's only like 20 meters different, if that, but there's always a giant chunk in lap time. I bet when we look at the data in a little bit, there'll be like a step in that one little bit, and then you'll be equal with me through the rest of the corner, but there's like a chunk where the time is gone and you'll never get it back in that first bit. I'll just have a quick look at the equivalent here. Let's have a look. Come on, load. Any minute now. Here we go. Zoom. Yeah, so that is what I thought. So 137 now, and actually my minimum speed is here, slightly later in the corner. You're neater than I am. You're tighter, a little bit tighter, but my minimum is 95. So actually, or 94 actually. So there is a scope for a little bit more as a minimum speed, but actually that's not the key. That's not the main time loss here. It's how long the high speed continues. So I'll just play that in full speed. So really there, a big chunk of deceleration is the turn itself. So as I begin the gentle turn in here, I'm still going 130, and then that final 30 to 40k of speed comes off now. You see I start to crank the lock on. There's more and more steering. The front end is scrubbing. I've only got a tiny bit of brakes trailed at this point, but all that steering is scrubbing the speed off, and now I'm getting back on the power. This wasn't the perfect line. I'm a tiny bit wide, although the apex, I do eventually hit an apex like there. But if we go from the off-board shot, there's just a bit more potential for your front tyres to do that scrubbing. So yeah, I wouldn't say that was perfect, but that's a bit more of what we want to do. We want to use the banking, use the front tyres, and do less of the braking with the brakes, basically. Right, let's go back to your lap. Here we go. There we go. Right, let's zoom back to there. Right. Okay, so exit was good. Let's go back on the cockpit. And there's not a lot to learn from this bit. Just take the shortest possible line. Right, so here we go. High speed, pretty crucial corner, but you're only in this corner for a brief period, so it's actually not the most important corner on the track, as long as you get it roughly right. There's more time to be gained from that hairpin we just did, for sure, than there is from this corner. That is actually really decent. You can't hear it again. I know. I can hear when you're back on the gas and when you're lifting. As always, we can probably use a little bit more width here. So we can probably be like literally on the white line, and because it's a high-speed corner, it matters a bit more. And you turn in quite confidently. That's pretty nice four-wheel drift. I wouldn't change a massive amount about that. You've got a bit of exit curb you can use. Again, although that looks horrible and brutal, you can run out a bit wider here. The car doesn't seem to really bottom out very much. And so you can give yourself a bit more width on the exit and a bit more width on the entry. And that will be a couple of kilometers an hour, maybe 5k additional potential if you did exactly the same attempted line, but just with more width on the entry and the exit. The main thing is getting back on the power earlier, because if I listen to this now, we're off. Now we're back on. So I think we want to be back on, like here, like in the middle. Again, just because there's loads of downforce, and you can see the fact that you were able to exit and you weren't forced a bit wider means there was a bit more potential throttle. So just a little bit earlier on the gas, but aside from that, your approach to this corner is really good. Like, don't change it. Just aim at the thing you can't see. Just wait until you're exactly like this, like maybe a meter later with the turn in and a bit closer to the white line here. But essentially, brake, down a gear, turn, hope for the best, power. But power earlier than you think. You have to. This is exactly the same in real life when you're racing real single-seaters and it's all like a bit scary because you've got corners like this, plus the fact that it might hurt or cost you a lot of money when you crash. You have to like force yourself. You're like, I know it can do it. I've seen in the data, my teammate gets on the power earlier, 20 meters. I just have to do it. And you have to almost force yourself to go, now. You know, like right now, we want to be full throttle. And it just trust that it will stick. And a few times you'll go a bit wide, and then you'll get it right, and then every single time you'll nail it from there. But definitely, I probably dwelled on that corner longer than we needed because you're doing it well. So we can forget that. It's the slower ones we're going to make a bit more time. Okay, double right-hander here. So your approach, pretty good. There's a little bit more room here. Obviously, don't touch the grass, otherwise you're going to die. It's a horror. I've done it a few times being too wide, but definitely not bad. You got a kind of double apex, and you can pretty much try and hit both of them. I'll look at what I did in a minute, but you're going down 2 gears, and this time, you see how you were able to stay tight here. You were able to almost go parallel with this white line. If I go on the far chase, it makes it a bit more obvious. So we missed this first apex slightly, so we can get a bit tighter to that, but we're off the throttle, and being off the throttle and slightly slower allowed you to go tighter here. That then completely screwed you up for the next one, because by being tighter here, your line was less ideal, you had less room in the next one, and look, you're suddenly tight, and then you actually almost had to turn away from it. I bet if we look at your steering angle, you turn, and then you turn away. Let's have a look. Yeah, look, you see how you're turning in, and then you have to straighten up because you're like, oh shit, I'm going to go on the grass. And then you're pressed up against the inside. That's the reason you go deep, not because you're going too quick. You could have carried more speed. It was the fact you carried a bit too little speed here that screwed you up for that one. So what we want to do is just go in actually slightly faster, a little bit more space on the left, slightly more speed, and earlier on the power, like here, but not... I'm using my hand even though you can't see my hand. Not here, slightly to the left, just a little bit wider here. And that'll then feed you in, like drop into this next... There's like a nice dip in this corner, right at the curb, and just being slightly wider will mean you don't have that straightening up moment like that. So, but you're generally approaching that quite well. You just didn't quite get it on that lap, that was all. And then the final corner, I think, like I said, is the best one. So let's just... Like, under control... This isn't a corner where you want to go in using the fronts to scrub the last bit of speed off. This is a corner where you want to do most of the braking with the brakes because you need to angle the car through the corner and then drive off of it. You don't want to be going in, decelerating all the way down to some late apex because you'll be terrible on the exit down the pit straight. So your approach here, getting it slowed down neatly and then bam on the gas is correct. That's exactly how I would approach that. So if you change anything the least, it's that corner. So don't try and change that one. Just keep maximising it. You know, just obviously brake as late as you can while still achieving this level of tidiness and this level of smoothness on the gas. It's a real false economy to get on the power too early here because you go wide here or you lose the rear. One of the other. One or the other.
Yeah, because there's a bump right there.
There's a bump
over the bump.
Exactly. You see the corner goes downhill here, uphill here, back downhill here. This section is called Deer's Leap because I guess, I don't know, deer leap over it. Cause
I ended up by that blue car a couple of times when I was trying to learn the track.
Yeah, that's happened a lot, and people do that a lot in real life as well. So
good.
just for completeness, I'm just going to watch the same sections we just did at full speed myself, if it loads. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, just starting slightly. Let's go for the fudge. Just slightly further to the left, that on the white line, committing to the turn. Let's just have a look. So although I am actually quite late on the gas, I'm now. It's still slightly. So my gas is from here. It's still slightly earlier than you were, and I think I'm carrying quite a lot more speed, so I had to wait a little bit longer. But it should look something like this. So it's literally, I know you can't hear it, but I'm going to do an impression. It's, bah, bah. Yeah, it's like a real brief lift and one smooth turn. Not very much lock at all. And on the brake trace, I'm just looking here, it's not a lot. It's a little bit, and then boom, straight back to full throttle. And knowing that you've got this extra room if required. I didn't use it like that, but right, carry on at full speed. Let's just see if I'm practicing what I preach with the width. So yeah, like out to the left, not on the white line I don't think, but quite close. That's just fear because I've been off here loads. First apex, so that's good. So that is what I thought I was doing. So hit the first one. Yeah, and if you look down here at the throttle trace in that whole section, I'm going to do it in slow-mo. So we're like, oh, sorry, you need that up. So a little bit of braking. As soon as the car's in, now. So from the moment we leave the exit of the first curb, throttle's already coming back on just because I'm trusting the downforce the car's got. And I'm full throttle, and I don't think that comes off from that point. You see how by going a bit wider, that hooks me in really nicely with that one. And I'm just absolutely full throttle. And it's not even trying to push me wide, even at that speed. It's just from the fact I did the first bit fast, pushed me wide in the middle, and the downforce stuck the car to the floor, and off it hooked through the second one. So it's definitely possible. And then I think final corner, just so you can see I'm doing it basically like you. Slow it right down. Curb, power. Okay, a little bit sideways on the exit, just because I'm being really taking the piss with the throttle on the exit, and then hug tight obviously round here, so shortest possible distance round the tree. Okay, right, so key things, let's get off of me, you don't care about me. Turn 1, keep pretty much the same, just imagine you've got more width on the exit, so treat yourself to a bit more exit. Turn 2 down the hill, it's pretty similar, maybe go slightly tighter in the initial phase, don't wander down the next straight, full throttle through the fast left at the bottom. Carry more entry speed into the hairpin at the end of the long straight there, and use the camber of the corner to slow the car down a bit. And then we'll go from there. I won't keep talking, otherwise there's too much to take in. Right, I'm going to go back on board with you. Let's go. Let's do it.
I find it hard to find my braking points on this track. I don't know why the markers are...
Okay, well, I tell you what, when you've done this next run, I'll try and pick out some actual... I'm terrible because I don't really use very many braking points. So when I'm talking to people, I'm not very good at just giving people a brake at the board or whatever. Also, because where you brake depends on how hard you're braking, how confident you are at not locking up, what speed you're travelling when you hit the brake.
Exactly.
So I can't say definitely brake here, but what I can do is say this is where I'm braking. Let's work back a bit or go forward a little bit, depending on what pace we're doing. So we'll have a look at it after this one.
I don't know. Maybe I should be more exact. I have sort of in mind a general area, and I can usually sense, okay, I'm carrying more speed, so maybe I need
that's pretty
to
much
be
how I do it.
a couple meters before that, or I'm not carrying as much speed because I was late coming out, and so I can be 5 meters after I normally brake. But anyway.
Yeah, it's good to have that stuff in mind, for sure. If you're struggling with picking out a consistent point, though, then I also do start looking for physical things near the track.
Right.
We did a Hungaroring Missed Apex race recently, and I wasn't quite consistent into turn 1, and I found a white line painted on the track. Although I wasn't braking at the white line, I was counting, a couple of seconds past it, or 1 second, and then tweaking the point I hit the brakes based on whether or not I make the corner. So we can do something like that. But right, let's do similar again, just with all that stuff in mind, and I'll keep quiet.
We'll give it a shot.
So yeah, just remember lap 1 is not representative at all. So all the stuff we spoke about, you can basically forget it on the first lap. Your throttle control on exits is really good. I think it's always been really good, actually. Yeah, that's just cold tyres. I actually don't think your speed was bad there. I think that was actually quite a good entry speed, just not on cold tyres.
I did the same thing.
Nice.
That was terrible.
They were just in a bit too early, that's all. But it's alright. The tyres are still cold on this lap, so this lap doesn't really matter. That was nice. Okay, so although it didn't completely work, you had exactly the right idea then. You were pushing the limits on the entry speed there, much more. The cold tyres just didn't let it stick to the inside, but that was a good effort. So do that exact same thing next time, but with a little bit of braking overlap, just to keep the nose in.
Oh. Alright, sorry about that.
That's alright. Yeah, we might need a fresh car.
Yeah.
That's okay, we'll just repeat that first couple of laps.
We'll start that first little process over.
But that was good though, that into the hairpin, exactly what you tried to do. You were like, you just like released the car into the entry phase, and you saw what would happen. You were like, let's just experiment and see how much the front end can slow us down. The key for that, to really nail that hairpin with the maximised entry speed, is going to be releasing the car to go in as quick as we can, but maintaining a little bit of brake pressure, just like a little trail brake, because I don't come fully off the brakes until I start getting back on the gas. So all the way up to here, basically, there's a tiny bit of brakes, but just not as much as you have been doing traditionally, that's it. Nice, good line into there. Even on cold tyres, that was good. And your bravery on the entry there was also good. The car didn't stick because of the cold tyres again, but...
I did it again.
That wasn't too bad, you know. That wasn't too bad. If you were travelling slightly quicker, it wouldn't have got you too tight early. That was a bit like the double left-hander from the previous run. You actually had the right idea. That was nice as well. You had the right idea, but because you went in slightly too slow, you got to the inside too fast. That was all. That's definitely better. I know it wasn't super tidy, but what you're doing on the entry phase is much better. We just have to practice it enough that you do it neatly, that's all, but definitely better. Like, I can see what you're aiming for now. So we just want to go in a little earlier there, like you have to turn before you can see where you're going, that's all. So keep it nice and ballsy through here, like you did before. Nice. So that was absolutely fine, no problem. You can now just increase the speed through there next time slightly. Nice.
The guy behind has just done a 122.3.
Well safe. So get on the power, that's alright, just get on the power slightly earlier in the middle of that corner. You should have the grip, you've got so much downforce through there. You're doing well though.
That was too wide. I'm
Well
on
held.
the grass just a little bit. Oi!
That might be broken. I don't think I can fix the... what I should do... I mean, it actually looks okay from my angle. Give it a drive, see if it's okay. You might have got away with it because it's tyre barrier.
It tells me black and orange flag.
Oh, in that case, it's definitely broken. Let's go back to the pit.
Shoot, sorry.
It's okay. No, don't worry, don't worry. When we're doing sessions on a track like this where it's very easy to pick up damage, I need to remember to turn it off, or at least turn healing car on. I just always forget. That is a thing. Have you seen that? That you can.
No, I haven't.
You can make it so the car self heals in certain sessions. So if your wing falls off, it will just gradually reattach down the next straight.
Oh, that's nice.
It's quite good for, like, you know, giving you some consequences, but stopping you having to go back to the pits. But anyway, you were doing really well there. That was like really decent effort. You went immediately quicker than you've gone in this session today, despite not remotely maximising the lap. You know, it still wasn't perfect at all. You just instantly went a bit quicker. So when we're fully exploiting these new little techniques, you will go way faster. So again, don't be too critical of yourself or the grip on this lap just because it doesn't really matter. That was a good effort at turning in earlier, like before you could see where you were going. So that entry speed was really good. It just understeered because of cold front, so that's completely normal. So we're probably at like 85% tyre temperature and grip now, so it still won't be amazing. You can push a bit.
Did it again.
Yeah, just in a little bit early, probably because we slightly overslowed it on the brakes.
Go left there.
I know. So there is a version of the track that does that. There is a version with a hairpin earlier. I think that's called the Island Circuit. And in that case, you would have been doing the correct line. Like, I don't want to go in that wall again. Not that one. Even if you crash somewhere else, just not that one. Okay, so tyres should be pretty much up to temperature by now. So you should be able to carry that nice amount of speed through this double right. With an early throttle, that's good. Nice. It just tucks in really nicely. Good effort, good effort. So I know that was probably an off track, but that was way closer to ideal. So that was really decent through there. We can work with that. Okay, so we will tweak something in that hairpin because your entry's better now. There's a point in the middle where we just want to come fully off the gas to get it to rotate a bit more because it was trying to push wide a bit early on you. But we can fix that, that's easy. Slightly late on the turn in that time, which is why it was so sharp. Oh, you're so unlucky with the barriers. Alright, I tell you what, let's just use that as a bit of like a learning exercise because I'm just gonna. I've got your replay up on the screen for what happened just there. So
okay, let me pull it up. Idiot.
No, don't be hard on yourself. This is hard. It's a new track for you. You've not been doing this loads recently, and I'm pushing you on straight away. Like, we're not easing you into this at all because I remember how good you are. So, can you see my screen?
Yep.
And I know this is so easy to talk about in hindsight, but it was just turning in too late, which is totally natural because you can't see where you're going.
It's blind.
It's blind, so yeah, you just naturally don't want to turn. So by now, I've already started to turn in on mine. I remember it was like before this 50 board, like near the start of this curve. You're doing really well to be all the way wide, but on this particular lap, you waited until about here, and now you're winding on the lock, and it just means that when you do it, you've got to apply a bit more lock. Yeah, and that's then the rear's already sliding. You can see where we're aiming right now. We're already going very, very tight. And you did quite well to hang on here, but it was never gonna. You were never gonna save it. It's quite. If we just paused it like here, that would have looked like a really epic drift. But yeah, unfortunately, it just didn't quite work out. Yeah, and you can see. Look how much sharper the turn is because you're going late. So if you can just turn it in earlier. You've obviously got the other side of the coin. If you go in too early, you also then need to apply loads of steering lock at the apex. It's like either side of the ideal turn-in point, you end up having to apply more lock than you want. It's just this one was by going in too late. So, and there you go. So that was that. But normally you're fine through there. So don't worry about that. If I just go back to the previous corner, that hairpin, your entry was really good here. In fact, let's go on the cockpit because it looks a bit more natural. Much, much higher entry speed. It's not quite as high as like perfect, but you were arriving at the inside from, you're way faster from here to here than you were. Like, I can actually hear front tyre squeal, which you were nowhere near getting last time. The difference is now you're nice and tight here, and at this point, because the corner is so long, we have to, because you've managed to achieve such a tight apex right now, we have to just get off the gas a little bit longer to let it rotate a bit more so that we arrive here still slightly on the inside. And at the moment, you can see the car trying to push you wider and wider and wider a bit earlier than you want. So this bit, you've done the nice brave entry. Now we just need a bit of like a tiny bit of throttle rotation patience. Even if it's not fully off, even if it's like maintenance throttle, so you're not actually decelerating anymore, just till you get a bit further round, because you can see here, like you're desperate to like straighten up and get on the gas and get off the corner, but you're just looking at this Marshall post straight in front of you, and if you even though there's camber, if you floor it now, you're just going wide, and this having to hesitate is killing you a lot more than waiting here would have done, because you're already going slow here. But if you waited till like now, you'd still be tight and you'd be full throttle, whereas now you're having to like wait. So that's all. That's the only bit there. Right, let's do another run if you're okay to do another one, if you've got time. Let's do one more, then we'll check out some data, and then I've got to go do some NASCAR, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Okay, let's see if I can keep it out of the barriers. How come?
Sorry, did you get a black flag? I can't
It
see.
says I got a black flag.
Yes,
but
right, I can just clear it. Maybe you crossed the pit exit line.
Maybe.
Clear penalties, there you go. Yeah, it doesn't show me when you get your black flags. Let me have a look. I'll tell you why. Yeah, you crossed the pit exit line. Oh, that's points on your license in real life. I've known drivers that I've coached in real life that have raced real cars for years, and we've left the pits and crossed the pit exit line like that. And I've said to them, oh, you just you went across the line then, and they're like, yeah, so what? They've literally spent their entire race career doing that and doing it correctly by mistake. Like, they've gotten away with it because they just happened to not bother crossing the line, but they didn't know they had to not cross the line. So, yeah. Okay, so mostly warm tyres, but not perfect yet. That was a good line. That was a good line. You actually hesitated. You thought you'd gone in too early, and you then turned away from the apex slightly. But your initial thoughts were correct that time. You nailed the entry. You second guessed yourself because it's gone wrong a few times. Yeah, well done. You waited a tiny bit longer, and it gave you such a nicer exit. Okay, so remember, don't turn in late for this next right-hander. Your front tyres are still a little bit cold, so you have to go a little slower than a perfect lap. Good effort. So you can go maybe 2 meters earlier than that, but that was way better. Nice. That's just slightly cold front, but still pretty quick. Decent, that's good. Right, now you've got everything at optimal temperature, let's go.
The guy behind has just done a 21.6.
Nice, and that was your quickest lap so far. Don't worry if that was an off track. I don't really care because you don't gain a lot versus doing it perfectly. So it sounds like we were mistakenly 1 gear too high there. It might have gone up an extra one on the previous straight. Nice. That was good. So now you know, you kind of just straightened up a bit early, that's all, but the middle of the corner was absolutely perfect. You know that feel of when it tucks in tight to that apex now. Okay, so you've got plenty of grip through here this time. Just turn in before the 50-meter board. Nice. Lovely. And now you'll start to trust the grip through there. It's actually not bad at all through there, that corner, when you've got warm tyres. So we just want to go in slightly earlier to that first of the double right. Try and hit both of those apexes if you can. But this is nice though. It looks way more on the limit now. Looks like you're pushing the car along. Good line, really nice. So we just wanted an extra downshift,
Yeah,
that was all.
I did, didn't I?
Nice. Okay, so last time was really good. Same again before the 50 board. That's it, and go with it. You can just like step on the gas. The moment you got that nose tucked in, that was good though. Okay, so this time make sure we hit that first apex through here.
No.
Or miss it and nearly die. It's okay. Everything's fine. I think we've got a spy in the camp. Serge.
It sounds like it.
Serge is a driver I have a session with tomorrow. He's spying on you. I might have to kick him out. I don't know how. There we go, kicked him out. He must have just seen, he hasn't had a session yet, so he must have just seen there was a session live and clicked to see what it was all about. I'm really pleased with how you're getting that hairpin now. Beautiful through there. Lovely. Right, we got that now. We can tick that one off.
Not this one.
That's more like it. That's more like it. Much better. Lovely. Excellent. That was so much quicker. So much quicker. Well done. Oh, that was really nice. So that was the first lap we've done where basically all the areas looked like they hooked up, and you did, okay, that doesn't mean we did everything perfectly, but you definitely did a rough approximation of the exact thing we were talking about, you know, all the way through. Okay, I think you understood everything. You've always been good at this, like me. I'll tell you a thing and then you put it into practice. We might not get it immediately, but given a few laps just to kind of get used to it, that was really good. So, as the notes said when I read them before this from our previous sessions, there was time to find from maximising what you can get away with from the turning point up to the apex. And sometimes that's a slow corner, sometimes it's a fast corner. And we had a combination here, a couple of different ones, that hairpin and then those really high-speed entries later on. And this track is super unforgiving, especially because of the bumps and because the corners are blind and because the track's narrow and because there's barriers right on the exit and grass and very big serrated curbs if you hit them wrong. But that looked really nice. That was like, that started to look like a flow. So before we end, let's have a look at some data, just so I've shown you Garage 61 and how... Okay. Sorry, Garage 61, because that's how...
Garage.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to bring that up here, and I'm going to find... Yeah, so you went quicker than your practice laps as well, so I'm going to add some laps. Are you out of the car now, by the way?
I can get out.
I think you have to exit the car before it uploads the data, that's all. So I'm just... It might take a minute or so just for it to upload.
So, quit.
You don't have to necessarily leave the session, but just the just like out of the, so you're back in the garage in the pit lane. So let's just see. I'm still getting a bit of a feel for how long this takes, but it has been loading my laps quite quickly. So let's go teammates from Get Faster Faster. That wasn't that one in that session. What did you do? You did a 20.3, so I know it's not that one yet. So it's still just obviously loading. I'll just give it a moment. Whilst that's loading, I'll just show you how it looks normally anyway. So if I just go back, we've got this session loaded here. Oh, that's me versus no one. That's not very helpful. I'll just load your other lap anyway. There we go. So I'll swap the colours round because I normally do me in blue and you in red. Cool. Okay, so it's pretty similar to VRS, and you know I know we've been through data and stuff before, but I won't. We can ignore specifics because we've just done a completely different session. So I'll get the correct lap up in a minute. But basically, you've got all the channels of data, and it's all pretty similar to VRS. But the things that are a little bit different are, to me, this system feels slightly nicer to click and zoom in on things and see a really nice, clear, like GPS line, as in your driving line. I can zoom in even further. It seems really accurate. The little delta line down here that shows you the steps where you've lost lost time. Going back to look at the lap in full like that, it all just zooms in and out really easily and quickly. And there's a few other little quirks and features that I just quite like about this version instead of VRS. Also, you don't have to pay for it, so you can have like the full version without having to pay. And I think for VRS to unlock certain things you have to pay. So so that's why we switched to this. Plus a load of teams I was driving with on iRacing big events, they were using this, so I just started using it instead.
Okay.
Right, let's see if I can find your latest lap. So we don't need anything else. Let's apply. I want to see all laps driven. Include all laps driven. Okay, so it's still not showing us yet. That doesn't mean you've done a thing wrong. This is just, I have had this with a couple of people where it's just not loaded very fast. But it has definitely been uploading your stuff in the background, hasn't it? Because we've seen it. So I'm just going to give it another couple of moments to try and find it. I mean, it is a personal best, but if you got an off track, it might not have counted. So we'll do all laps anyway.
I don't think I got an off track.
Maybe, yeah, you probably didn't. I think your turn 1 was really clean, actually, wasn't it?
For once, yeah. That was the only time I managed to get through turn 1.
Okay, so let's try a different thing. Let's go to activity. Here we go. Last driven 13 seconds ago. Here we go. It says 0 laps at the moment, so it's just, it knows there's a session. Is this right? Yeah, it's this one here. It's just not uploaded yet for some reason. It might just be taking its time. Oh, it's annoying. I just want to show you this whilst it's fresh in both of our minds rather than coming back to it next week.
Yeah.
It's annoying that I can't, like, it doesn't save the data from my end, because I was in the same session as you, so theoretically I should be able to load your data too. Right, I'll just exit the session. The only other thing I'm looking at is there's this other session here that you did where it says you did 0 laps, which is interesting. I've not seen it show like this before, but
Wonder if it got a glitch.
Because I don't want to analyze a lap you did the other day, because we're probably doing different stuff now.
Yeah, way different.
If this doesn't work, if you get time to do any more practice laps in the next couple of days, I'll come back in and have a look anyway.
Okay.
I'm sorry about this. This is annoying.
So to get to this, it's not
to look
really
at the
an
data.
app. I don't.
Yeah, I just go to the website, Garage
to the
61,
website. Okay.
and then go to Teams and get faster, and then you can basically, if you go up to the top and you go to Analyze, you should then be able to see all of the sessions that you've recently done. Let's look what the overview is. Yeah, this just shows people that are in our teams that are currently on track, so we can ignore that. But basically, I normally go Teams and I find the driver. So I'd find you here, and then I go Activity, and that shows you what you've done recently. And then you can find the laps. Oh, here we go. Has it got it now? This one. Got it. It's there. It just was taking its time to show. Here we go. Right, so perfect. So let's take your best one here, and then hit Analyze. Create a new analysis. Oh, in fact, no, I've already done. We'll do this one because this will add it to the one I was just looking at. It's got your old lap in as well, so I'm going to remove that. I got to the little settings thing here, and I just literally take your slower lap and hit delete. So that's gone. I'm going to change you to red, so we know that you're red. Analyze selected laps. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, so now we can actually look at this. So turn 1, minimum speed. Ah, that's interesting. You're a gear higher than I was. Okay, I didn't even notice that. I didn't notice that you were changing up an extra one, but it wasn't affecting you much. It was just meaning you had an extra downshift to do, that was all. So let's just look at turn 1 in isolation. This was on that very last lap you did.
Yeah.
You're going in slightly slower than me, but just ignore that. I've done so many thousands of laps around here in real life and on the sim. You're doing the right thing. You will creep up to a faster speed with confidence. But yeah, apparently you can stay in 5th gear. So there we go. Who knew? Maybe we just let it rev a little bit more. Next corner, the downhill left that kind of turns back on itself here. So similar thing. You're doing it right. We're just going a little bit slower than we could be going. But this only like 10k or so, not a massive amount. Obviously, that does affect you down the next straight, but not a fundamentally different technique we need to do. It's more just carrying more speed and being more confident with the car. But that's always going to be the case. Turn 1, you're particularly close actually in terms of minimum speed. That long left, okay, yeah, there's a bit of minimum speed time to find. We can just be going slightly quicker in the middle. What we're doing on throttle. If I zoom in on that turn 2 again. Yeah, you can see partly the reason for that is you're a bit slower getting back on the gas and you're slowing it a bit more early, that's all. But it's not the end of the world. That's a difficult one to just say, do this differently, because it's quite long and it's quite high speed. We'll maybe look at that next time if you're finding it still a problem, or we'll be on a different track. The hairpin, though, way better. So if I bring in your previous best, I bet... In fact, let's just bring in one from earlier in the session. So I'll just go back to here. This is actually going to find them now. So it's this session. We don't want personal best. I want all laps driven. So what was one of the earlier laps? Let's go. It was one of the 22s. So let's go for like this one as an example. So that's in purple now. You see how much more you were slowing it on the entry. So you are you're not absolutely maximizing the speed we can be carrying up to that apex, but you've halved the deficit basically. And you can see, look at your braking trace down here, much more closely matching what I'm doing. Before you were hard on the brakes in purple here, staying hard on the brakes until about here, and then coming off when the speed was already very slow. Now, you're staying slightly harder on the brakes here than me in that initial phase, but you are definitely trailing and bleeding off them in almost exactly the same shape as I am. That kind of gradual reduction in brakes. That's a really nice technique, because you're not just on and off. You're like on, and then there's like this nice slope down on the exit. I'm just taking the mickey a bit more with coming off them a lot, and really trusting it. But that's good. What we want to try and do on this kind of corner in future, we want to try and... You see my blue line on the speed is a bit more of a V. It's like slowing down, minimum speed, immediately speeding back up again. There's only a very brief moment at the minimum speed, whereas you've got a bit more of like this kind of slopey curve where your minimum, you're at the slower speed for longer and then speeding back up. That's what we'll try and eradicate. But that's like confidence on the rotation point of the car. And being at the maximum speed for as long as possible. But anyway, good news is you're doing it better. That's definitely a big time gain compared to before. So then the next section, the fast. Let's go back to the full lap. The fast left, almost the same story. Hang on, if I drag it over here, you can see the difference in. There's still more speed to be able to carry, but you've halved the deficit, like literally halved it to what you did on the earlier run, which is really good. And that you're gaining that on the exit as well as in the middle. So that's good. That's nice. The brake trace, interestingly, you match your own brake trace through that fast right-hander, but it's quite different to mine. I'm doing later, longer, but less all the way. And that's to try and keep the nose in. So keep a higher speed, but still keep a little bit of weight on the nose. So if we looked at this data earlier, I'd probably point that out. But yeah, we can brake later and brake a little bit less pressure, but for longer. But anyway, certainly not bad. And your confidence through that is way better. And then we've got, after that, the double right-hander. And this is actually even better than halving the deficit. You've gained like... You've got much closer than you were before through there, and look how much your shape is way more similar to mine. It's slightly lower, but the way the kind of angle of your speed drops matches mine a lot more. The steepness of the purple line, you're obviously braking harder. Yeah, obviously we can see down here. It's like they're nicely spaced out so we can see the difference. But on the brakes, I'm braking quite gently. You're now braking a little bit more hard than me, but not crazy hard. And before you were really stamping on the pedal. So you've like, again, halved the difference. And the steering is a lot closer too. The purple line, that's where you got too tight and then turned away from the corner. Like where your steering goes back to center on the purple because you had to straighten up. You're not doing that now because you can't. So that's good. And then the final corner, Deer's Leap over here. I told you this is the corner you're doing the best, and look at how similar the blue line and the red line are here. Really, really similar. You're basically losing barely any time through there compared to me. It's a fraction. You can barely set the lines apart, whereas before, even before that was actually your best, you're closer now, even though we weren't focusing on that corner at all.
Right.
You managed to get even closer somehow. So there we go. So that was good. And your brake trace all the time. Look at this brake trace here. Can I zoom in a bit more? Yeah, there we go. Brake trace really similar. Like the peak braking force is great. I honestly don't know how to explain that. There's nothing particular about that corner. I don't know why that one corner you'd be almost perfect.
So on it.
I don't know why.
Yeah,
and it's one of the trickiest corners, and it's still blind, and there's other. I don't know. I'll think about it over the week. There'll be some reason. That'll be a particular kind of corner.
If I could just do that in every other type of corner, then it would be good.
It's a slow, but not crazy slow corner. It's not very slow. It's a slow corner, and I don't know. I'll look out for that when we go to other tracks and see whether there are just particular kinds of corner that you're excellent at. But the high speed ones are the places where there's a big gap. The two slow speed corners are definitely where you're closest. The hairpin and the not quite a hairpin are easily your best two. And the high speed corners, which is exactly what the note said when I read it before the session, maximising the entry speed into high speed corners is where you can make most time, and you've done a lot of that in this session. So sorry that overran a little bit. And
no, that's great.
And yeah, I really appreciate you listening to me. And
no, I appreciate the help. It's without my guru for all these months, I've been lost.
This will be a lot more. I'll be a lot more of a useful person to you in the coming weeks, because
I didn't want to be a big pain in the rear end, but I was like reaching out and then thought, maybe I'll wait a little while. I'll reach out again.
This is now the only weird thing is that I've got this overlapping job happening, because I obviously wasn't going to get fully booked from track coaching and sim coaching immediately, so I put in place some work which it's not directly related to racy stuff, but it's some stuff I used to do. Everyone that does the job is either a rally driver or a race driver, but it's nothing to do with rally driving or race driving. It's product training. We're teaching people about a new car which is being launched, and quite often on those jobs there are activities where it requires some like driver skill. It just so happens this one has none of that. This is not dynamic whatsoever, but I have a 5 to 6 week job that is like overlapping in between my full-time job and my full-time sim coaching and race coaching.
Well, at least you're not busy.
Yeah, it just means that for the next few weeks I am actually crazy busy, and I'm only doing sim coaching at weekends. After that, as soon as that job's finished, it's lots and lots of free time and loads of flexibility and loads more time to do the coaching stuff. So
awesome.
Hold on for me for a couple more weeks, and then I'll be fully available. But thank you very much. It's nice to talk to you.
In terms of booking our next session, should I just do that online like I did?
That's a really good question. So you must be like one of my only people remaining that I didn't get to bug about booking the next session. So is this the only one we've got in the calendar at the moment?
Yeah, because I didn't know if it was possible at that time that I
that's fine. One. So the way the booking system works, which again is all quite new to me, but it seems to be working quite well. With the 4 sessions, I have to manually put in the next ones. So all I do is I literally just talk to you and just tell me when you'd like to do them. We can either do it one by one, or we can put all of the rest of the 3 in right now. It's completely up to you. But the website will show the availability. So if you
Why don't
if you
we
want
just do? Why don't we just, since you're busy for the next 4 or 5 weeks, why don't we just do the same thing, same day, same time, if possible,
yeah, cool.
for the next 3 sessions?
So because of everything I just told you, then my weekends are really, really busy with the sim coaching.
Yeah.
But I've still got plenty of time. I just need to. It might not be the same time. So I'm looking at the calendar right now. So let's look. So next Saturday. So next Saturday I can do the same time. That's fine.
Okay.
So that's my time, 5 to 6. I'm just going to check through each of them whilst you're here. The next Saturday I can do later. I can't do the same time. Or
That's fine.
So this is. I don't know how this works for you. How is 10 p.m. UK time for you?
Which would be. Is that?
So this time we did 5 p.m. So 5 hours later.
5 hours later, so that would be 10. That would be 3. Is it 3? I think so.
Maybe.
Yeah, I can do it. We'll work it out.
Okay, so we can do the next Saturday is fine. The following Saturday do 10, and then the following one I currently don't have anything in, but that worries me because that means maybe it's a travel day or something. I'm just going to check. So that is not the second. That's because I'm coaching in real life at Donington. That's why. So I'm out all day. I can do the Sunday.
That's fine. Sunday's fine.
So we could do Sunday 1 hour later than this one, so 6 p.m. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that works because I've already got. No, I'm so sorry, Rob. I'm messing you about. The reason I've got nothing in is because I'm travelling to Scotland.
There you go.
Well,
we can skip a week that week, I guess.
How about Sunday the 17th? That is the following Sunday. I'll send you all these in a minute, so you'll get confirmation. So if I cock any of these up, you can tell me I'm an idiot. But the following Sunday, which is the 17th at 6 p.m. my time, so 1 hour later than we did this one.
Sounds good.
Right, I'm going to put all those in now. I'll hang up to you now. I'll put them all in. You should get a bunch of emails confirming them.
Okay.
Thanks,
hey,
Robert.
Brad, thanks.
Have a nice afternoon.
You too. Take care.
Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Talk to you in a week. Bye.